Good morning, Dr. Francis.
Yeah, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. I'm fine.
Okay. Where's everybody now?
Let me
No,
send
they have given up.
No, I don't think so. Let me find them.
Or maybe it's getting overwhelming.
Perhaps.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. How are you, Lukman?
Hi, sir. Yes, sir.
Great.
Good afternoon, Dr. Francis.
Hey, afternoon, Moses. How are you?
Very well.
I say it seems this thing has become overwhelming that all of you are not tired.
Everyone.
Thank you for the effort, sir.
Hey, afternoon, Vivian. So you have joined us back.
Francis.
Long time.
Sun,
Yeah,
sun has entered my eye, Dr. Francis. Sun has entered.
one has entered.
Yes, so everywhere is black now.
Black.
Yes, so,
Yeah.
so, but let's see, God will help us. Yeah.
This one is only fasting and prayer. This one is not.
As in, this is carry over, carry over. Yeah.
It's like you stopped. Where did you join us for Python at all?
A few times. I then last after I skipped like maybe 1 or 2 classes. By the time I joined again, my God, everything was sounding Greek. So I would just listen. I don't know what is happening. So because I used to be on the road most of those days. So I
Yeah.
didn't. mm, mm, mm.
How about you just try and watch the videos now when you can now.
Yes, I will. Thank
But you
you.
notice that even before I start, I'll first repeat what we have done before. So to
Yeah.
refresh your memory to where we are, then we add something again.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what we normally do.
Yeah.
And hopefully by the end of this month, I don't know, I think we should be able to finish this Python. I hope.
Okay.
Okay, that's true. How many Sundays do we have left? Just only one Sunday.
Just one Sunday.
So that means it's next month will be done.
Okay.
Next month will be done.
Mm.
Like even IG is on strike. He has run away.
Let me call him.
Maybe church activities heading back today.
Yeah.
Moses. Consultant. Moses.
Me consult. We know the consultant in our midst.
Yes, what is our consultant?
Lukman, I see you. Maria, I see you too.
Maria, good afternoon.
Hola,
Good
consultant.
afternoon, my people.
On away, Vivian.
Lukman, I will come so that you remove the blackness in my eye. Or 3 of you, because my eye is black.
Even Lukman can't see the road yet. It was until this week that I actually sat down and I tried some of what we were taught.
Yes.
Okay. I'll try and watch the videos.
Yes. People like Lukman. Okay, Lukman, you're in financial accounting, right?
Yes, sir. Is the visualization I'm most important? I really want to learn. No.
Oh, the visualization. Okay.
Yes.
That's in Python or in Power BI?
Power BI, sir.
Oh, in Power BI.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But if you
Needs it to present in his board meetings.
okay. But if you're an audit, I would have said this is also very important for, because I know most time in audit now, when clients give you file, sometimes your system cannot even carry the file. Because
Yes,
because the file is so large that Excel will struggle to load. But with Python, you see how easy it is.
They have the audits actually have its own dedicated software. Caseware.
I know they have their own dedicated software, but the analytics you can do there is limited.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But with Python,
when you are taking GL of clients and all that,
so those GL now is what we take inside Python here. Everything you are doing, everything you are doing at the back end of it, of that your either ACL, IT. Sometimes it's just like Excel, right?
Yes, sir.
But you see like a database you're working with. But with SQL, with Python, you see how easy it is.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. All right, I think we can start now. Since we are waited like 10 minutes. All right, let's just start. Those who join. Okay. So where did we stop the last time? So where did we stop the last class?
I
think we stop at concat.
Concat.
Yes, sir.
Concat. Okay. All right. So what is the first thing we need to do?
Sir?
I think what is the first thing we need to do here?
Import data as PD.
Import what? Even if you don't know any code at all that you need to type, at least this one will just be natural to you.
Yes, sir.
Import what?
I just did it this week. I want to open my notes. Import Panda has NPD.
As PD,
and a NumPy as MP.
That's all, man.
Yes, sir.
Even if you don't know anything to type at all, this one will just come natural to you. All right. Now, if you want to get a data set, so which data set did we get? Did we create a data set or we imported data sets?
We imported.
Okay, we imported. So I've shown you how to import an Excel file. And
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which file do we have? Superstore, right? But I can't remember what I saved now.
I'm coming. Sir.
That's Superstores, right? Superstores data, yes.
The last time we used pivoted and pivoted, we used pivoted data.
Yeah. But I'm just saying the file that we use.
Yes, sir.
So let me import I think Superstore data. Superstore data. Okay, let me copy. So we remember that whenever you are opening the folder, right, or you want to open your Jupyter Notebook, remember to open Jupyter Notebook from the folder or the location where your file is. Remember, so that when you are opening it, you will notice that either it's on your desktop, right, or on the root. So if, for example, I have Superstore, do I have Superstore here? Okay, I have store. Okay, I have Superstore here. Can you see that? I have Superstore. So it's on the desktop. Do you get? Since it's on the desktop, I'm opening it from the desktop. So it means I don't need to go and copy the part anymore. You notice that I don't need to copy the part anymore. So what do I do? df equals to what?
Sir?
Because df, so I want to call the data now. Okay, let's call it, should we call it df or store? Which one do you prefer?
Let's give him generic name, store, sir.
Store, okay, store equals to what?
Equals to, okay, is when we are reading directly from file. That was the one I know.
Yes, but you first of all need to
equals to
PD dot read
read PD dot read underscore Excel.
Okay, it's an Excel file, is it not?
Yes,
then
sir.
open brackets. You just type the name of the file. What is the name of the file? It's
Superstore.
Superstores.xlsx. Okay.
Then
if it doesn't work,
we append R.
But you see, when you copy it like this, when it comes this way, right? You don't need to put R unless you copy the file parts.
Okay.
That's why you now put read. So that's the difference.
Okay.
So can you see that now? So I now have the data now. So you now see this your pandas is exactly the way it is in your Excel. Okay, so whatever you do in Excel, right, is what you are going to do here. The only difference, yes.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Is there a specific rule as to the data sets, how it will be structured that you can import? What I did when I tried during the week.
Normally, you see, when we started data analytics, we started Excel class. We gave a general structure what your data set should look like.
Yes, sir.
Is that same rule that applies everywhere?
Okay.
When we went to SQL again, we did the same thing. Okay,
sir.
Now, so that means that in Python does not necessarily have any rule, but at the end of the day, we want to move that data from an unstructured form to a structured form. Do you get? And you must follow those rules that we specified. Okay, that is why when we are creating data, I always repeat: how do you create data from a list? How do you create data from a dictionary? Okay, so we are moving from a structured form to a structured. Okay, so when you are keeping in Excel, the same way you want to do it in Excel, is the same thing you are going to do here. So that means if it's not in that structure, that means the way you are going to transform it and clean that data is to meet that structure. Because at the end
In
of
this
the
case,
day,
I couldn't even import it at all.
which file is that?
It's an Excel file, but I also know the data was not well. It was meant for another purpose.
No, even if it was not structured, right? But at least once it brings it in, it will bring it whatever form it is. Okay, so you just need to be clear what type of file it is. If it's an Excel or a CSV file. If it was a CSV file and you're calling an Excel file, no. If you're a CSV file and you're calling it an Excel file, don't read it. Okay, so you must be
I will
sure.
try again, sir, and I will just forward the error message to you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, sir.
Then sometimes again, I've shown you that even if it's an Excel file or a CSV file, and maybe it's giving you an error here, that means you go back to that Excel file and resave it maybe in another format. Either as another format of CSV or another format as Excel. That can be another alternative. I think it was last week. I think I tried to open a CSV file, one of the CSV file, but it didn't open for me. So that means I have to go back and resave it as a CSV. But you will see UTF something Unicode text format. So this is CSV file, Superstore CSV. Okay. So it means that if I want to bring in a CSV file, where's the CSV file? Okay, so let me say Superstore equals to pd dot what read CSV superstores dot what CSV. Okay, and you notice that data stored in CSV loads much faster than an Excel file, right?
Okay.
And what differentiates a CSV file from an Excel file?
CSV file is
Different
separated by
.cl.
comma.
Yeah, apart from the CSV and XLS, so what's the major difference?
I think CSV opens only one page or something.
Yeah, just one
Yes.
sheet, exactly, just one sheet. So why, if you have other sheets here, just put a sheet name, then you type the name of the sheet exactly as it's typed on that place in your Excel file. You just select the particular sheet name.
Okay.
Okay. That's just basically it. Okay, so that's fine. So whatever analysis you are doing in your Excel, so like last week we have seen how to use pivot table, isn't it? We have seen
sir.
pivot table, pivots. What again do we look at? You said we look at how to merge and join tables, isn't it?
Yes.
So we have looked at lock and iLock, right? Okay, but let's just basically look at it. You know, normally when you are looking at your Excel table, right? If I want to, for example, check, okay, what's the size of this data? What's the size? How would I check the size in terms of the number of rows and columns? I want to check the number of rows and columns. How do I check it? How many rows and how many columns this table has? How do I check it?
Maybe we scroll down to the last data.
If you scroll down to the last, yes. But how else can we check it? How else can we check it? We want to see the structure of it, because you know in Python normally will not see it as table, right? What will it see it as? What will Python see it as? So your table normally, how does Python see it?
Record and field.
Record and field, not necessarily. I mentioned it now. That most time Python we see it as a matrix. Is it not?
Yes, sir, you did.
So it is matrix that has that row and column. What you are calling the table is what Python is seen as a matrix. So how do you see the structure of a matrix?
Row by column, 3 by 3, 2 by 2.
So how do you
number
check
of
it?
rows.
So how do you now check that now?
Okay, in
You are
this
looking.
case, please.
That's the shape now.
Yes, sir.
You know, that's the shape. So can you see that now? You are looking at what the shape. So what you are looking at when you imported the data is the shape. Okay, so if we run Superstore, can you see it here? What you are seeing here is actually the shape of the matrix of the table. Because sometimes you may need to just check whether it has imported everything that you need. So you check the what shape of the table. Okay. So how do I check the columns?
Yes,
How do you check the columns, the column names? Because when I run Superstore, you will notice it has quite a lot. So how do I check all the columns? You see here where you have dot, 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 it means it continues up to this point. So how do I check all the columns here?
Superstore dot column.
Dot columns.
Dot.
Columns. So I see all the columns here.
Yes, sir.
So those are some of the basic things at least you can use to just explore your tables. Okay. We showed you how to select columns, isn't it not? How do you select specific columns here? So assuming I want to select customer ID, I want to select, let's say customer name, I want to select the quantity, I want to, or let's say I want to select as the quantity, customer name and quantity. How do I select customer name and quantity?
Superstore dot column bracket
Super
open the column number.
Dot column.
Bracket open, then the column numbers.
Column numbers.
Yes, sir.
So how do you know the column numbers now? How do you know the column numbers?
I think index. I think you said you use index number.
Now you see that when you are dealing with this, is selecting your data. You don't need to call it columns anymore now. You just call it Superstore
Index.
your square bracket, isn't it? Then write your column names now. What do I want to check? Customer name.
Yes.
Comma. I want to check what? Sales. Can you see that? Customer name and sales.
Okay.
Can you see that? I don't need to call any of that there. So you can select as many columns as you want. Okay, what again did we show? So now before what we are doing, we're using smaller data sets, isn't it? So at least we can see what's happening at the back end. So now we are using larger data, but it's the same thing that we are exploring. The only difference now is that now at least with a larger data set, at least we have a better understanding of what's happening at the back end. Now remember that I can also use Superstore dot. It's not sales to call it, but whenever I have a space, it is preferably that you use what the brackets, the square brackets. Okay. All right. Good. So what again did we look at? So we have seen how to exploit. Now you know that the same way, if I want to maybe create, maybe I want to create a new column. How do I create a new column? Let's say I want to create a new column called costs. How do I create a new column called costs? If I was to create a new column called costs, how do we do that?
I think in place, no, that's if you are replacing.
Create a new column called costs.
Superstore dot create
Super. We are creating a new column called costs.
superstore dot create.
Is there a function called create?
Create should be.
Normally, you open the bracket now, call it the name. Let's say cost, isn't it? So cost equal to, so how do you get cost now? How do we get cost?
Quantity.
You notice there's no cost here, right? You know there's no cost here.
Yes, sir.
So we want to create cost now. So how do we create cost?
Customer ID.
So let me cost.
That will be sales divided by quantity. That's cost price.
Superstore.
That's sales price.
Name sales. I have profit, isn't it? So if I want to create cost now, how do I create cost? How do I get cost now? You see, there's nothing called costs, right? Good. So how do I create costs?
Sales minus profits.
It's sales minus profit, isn't it? Sales minus profit. Okay. So it's going to be what? So super store customer name, is it not? Minus superstore profits. Okay,
sales. You wanted to write sales, not customer name, sir. Not customer's name.
Okay, now let's check. What is this error telling you?
Ported operand for string and float.
So what does that mean?
Matching two different data.
Yeah, exactly, two different data type. One is string and one is what? In float. So here will be what? Sales. All right. So if I have here superstore costs, can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
So it means if I bring in costs here, can you see it's now here? If I want to create gross margin, how do I get gross margin? How do I get gross margin?
We need to check the. We need to check the fields again to see what we have there.
Gross margin. We have shown it here now. From here, now you can create gross margin now.
Cost.
How do we create? What's the formula for gross margin?
Gross margin will be sales minus direct cost.
Gross margin is what?
Sales minus direct cost.
Sales minus direct cost. Okay. So now that we have, now we have profits now, right? Let's assume this is sales and this is direct cost. Okay. So it means
Unless
that
we want to say sales, gross margin will be the same as profits.
yeah, so it will be profit what? So let's say gross margin. Yes. So gross margin will be what?
Sales minus cost.
Sales minus cost. We have already, that will give us profit now.
Yes, sir.
So gross, okay, let's say gross margin ratio.
Okay, gross margin ratio.
Gross margin ratio.
That will be profit all over sales.
So that will be profit over sales. So it will be superstore profits, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Divided by what? Superstore sales. If I want to get cost to income ratio, how will we get that? Cost to income ratio. Cost income ratio. How do we get that?
Cost all over sales.
Cost all over. Is that cost income ratio?
Yes, sir. In this case, income is taken to be sales.
Okay, so let's say cost to income. What is income? Is income sales or income is profit? Which one are we taking it as? So it will be
Income is sales.
Store cost divided by what? Superstore what? Sales, like this.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now you see, if we check it out, so if I come here and I have here gross margin, you notice they are all in decimal, right? So if I want to put in percentage terms, what do I do?
Multiply by 100.
I'll multiply by 100. So what am I multiplying by 100? Multiply by 100. Okay, so let's run it now. Can you see it now? So which means that is the same thing we are going to do here, multiply by 100. So when we generate new variable from already existing variable, what do we call that? When we generate new variable from already existing variable, what do we call that? What is the name? When we create new variables from already existing variables, what do we call that? Yes. Or we are creating new variable from already existing variables. I explained it in the past now, because remember, when we get to machine learning, this is what we are going to be doing now. We're going to be creating new variables, because sometimes the insights you are going to get or the way you are going to predict it will be based on certain variables that you generate yourself from already existing data. Okay, So you will be able to try to see which variables best predicts. Okay, so that's why we say that your domain knowledge is what is going to guide you to know whether that variable you have created makes sense or not. To somebody who is a non-finance or accounting person, there's no way he can be thinking about gross margin or cost to income ratio. There's no way he'll be thinking about it, isn't it?
Yes,
So
sir.
that's why we say again, it's your domain that will drive how you are going to create those variables. Okay, so they are usually referred to as what? Feature generation or feature engineering.
Future.
Feature. You know, these your variables, they are called features. So feature engineering.
Okay, sir.
So I've mentioned it before now. Feature engineering. But you have heard of it now, feature engineering.
No, sir.
I've explained it before. So they're usually called feature engineering. So especially when we are going to machine learning. So that's the essence of why we are doing this. But up to this point is what you are going to be doing as data analysts. Till when we get to data visualization, that's where your job will stop as a data analyst. Now, when we get to machine learning, that's when your role now changes to what? A data scientist. Can you see that now?
Yes,
So
sir.
everything we are going to be doing up to visualization, where you are going to now build your reports, what has happened. That is where your role as data analyst stops. Okay. When we now get into machine learning, then that is when you have now gone beyond data analysis to what? Data science. So you're now going to prediction.
Okay, sir.
All right, can we continue? Every
Yes,
other
sir.
person, are we clear with this?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's
Yes.
yes. Hello.
With you, sir.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Good. Now, sometimes, you know, when you want to create your variable, for example, maybe this particular data, you want to call it, maybe because we have different data sets, right? So we want to call this particular data, maybe we want to call it Nigeria. Maybe you have different countries. So you have the one of Nigeria, maybe you have another one of UK, you have another one of another country. Okay. So I want this particular data set is Nigeria. So I want a particular column to have country, and that country, everything should be written what? Nigeria. Right? So what do we do? So superstore. So we'll call it what? Nigeria. Let's call it country. Isn't it? So equals to what? Nigeria. So if I come here now, I say superstore. So let's say, let me just add here now. Let me just add it so that I can come part of it. So let me say country. Country. Can you see now we have Nigeria, all true. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So we can create new variables that way. So if you have a long formula, we'll now put it there. Because I'll still come to a situation where we are going to see where we are going to be applying functions. Where we are going to be applying what functions. Now imagine now, so what we always do, for example, this is where we have gross margin. So if you want to call it gross margin ratio, how do we change this gross margin to gross margin ratio? How do I change gross margin or cost to expenses? How can I change this cost to expenses? Maybe then gross margin to gross margin ratio. How do we do that?
Superstore.
Yeah, superstore.
Then the square brackets.
What do we want to do?
We want to change cost to expense.
So we are trying to rename, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It is when we are creating a new variable, then we have to put square brackets. But since it's already existing, we just need to rename.
Okay.
Remember, we need to what? Rename it. Okay, what are we renaming? What are we renaming? The columns, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And what are the columns? So I have to put, so the first one is what? So let's say cost.
Cost.
I want to rename it to what now?
Expense.
Expense, right? Then the other one is what? Gross profit.
Margin.
Gross margin. Gross margin. I want to rename it to what now? Gross
margin ratio.
With this work,
one bracket is missing.
which bracket is missing?
Okay, it's just sir.
Let's run and check now. Did it work? You know, like here now, you are not seeing everything, right?
Yes.
So can you see gross margin ratio here? Can you see expenses here?
Expense.
But you know,
yes,
it is not permanent, isn't it? So if I want to make it permanent, what do I do?
You change it to in place.
In place equals to what? True. Okay. In place equals to what? True. Good. We are clear with this now, right?
Yes, sir.
So if we are trying to look at maybe, I want to check the first 10 rows or the first 5 rows. How do I check the first 5 rows? First 5 rows. First 5 rows. First 5 rows.
Superstore.
Yeah, Superstore.
Row.
First 5 rows. It's just head now. Dot head.
Head 4.
Right? This is the easiest way now. But remember, you can also do it based on the index. So if I say Superstore dot what? Either I use iLock, right? First 5 will be what now? 0 to what?
0 to 4.
0 to 4. Remember, that 4 will now be -1 now, right?
Yes, sir.
So maybe it will be 0 to 5. So to give you that 0 or 0 to 4. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it reads it by the index, not by this number. I read it by the index. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same way, if I want to call by the column names, maybe the first 5 columns, will be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is it not? So it will be what? 0 to 5 again, right? So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the index. It's reading it by the index. But if I want to read it by the name, right? If I want to read it by the name, how do I read it by the name? If I want to read it by the name, how do I read by the name now? So let me see the head so that I can see it. So if I want to read it by the name from here, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want to stop at where now?
Ship mode.
Ship mode. So I want to get this ship mode. So how will I get up to ship mode? up to ship mode. How will I read up to ship mode? So it's superstore dot what lock, isn't it? I want to see maybe the first 5, is it not? Then up to where? Ship mode. Is there a space there? I think there's a space there. So can you see that? So under lock, you can call the ship mode, but under index, you can only call it by the index name. So that was the basic difference between both methods. And you can read them as much as you want. So what else did we see again? Yes, what again did we do? Yes, what again did we look at? Now, you know, for example, if there was, maybe for example, you want to check your missing data. How do you check missing data? If there was missing data, you want to check if there's missing data. How do you check if there's missing data? How do we check if there's missing data? Is there a missing data?
You mean empty
Yes,
cells?
yes. If there's any empty cell in this data set. So superstore,
no.
yes. Superstore dot what is null, right?
Yes.
Is null. But you see, to give you true, false, true, false. So what do you want to do now? So say dot sum, right? So can you see that? Is there any missing data here? Is there any missing data? If there's missing data, you see it with that count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see that? You write the number here for you. So this is to identify which of the columns or your fields have missing data. But so far, no column has any missing data. Okay. Now, if there was missing data, what can we do? If there's missing data now, what can we do? If there's missing data now, what can we do? So if there's missing data now, what can we do?
We can drop it.
We can drop, is it not? So how do we drop? So superstore dot what? Drop what? Any, isn't it? Drop what?
Yes.
Any. So to drop any place where there's what? Missing data. Okay. Anyway, there's missing data, it will drop it. What again can you do? Either you drop or you what?
Replace.
Or you fill now, isn't it? So you can say superstore dot what? Fill any. How do I want to fill it? Where value is equals to. So I can fill it either with text or with a number. Isn't it? So where text is, I can just say null. Right? I can replace with any value I want there. Or I can say fill value where that empty value is blank. So I can leave it blank like that. Or I can say fill it with 0. Can you see that? Or I can now say, okay, anywhere I see it, fill it with the average of a particular column or the median of a particular column. Okay. So if I say, for example, fill it with what now? Maybe the average of sales. So what do I do? Average of sales will be super store what? Sales, isn't it? Dot what? The mean. Then I open that bracket again. Or the median. Can you see that? So once it sees any empty data, it will fill it with the median of the sales. So, but again, it depends. So now you have to check which data is what missing.
Okay, sir.
Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, that's fine. Now we looked at, for example, we created, you know how in Excel, when we are doing this in Excel, how did we analyze this data in Excel? How did we analyze this data in Excel?
Using pivot table.
Pivot table, is it not? So remember, there will be questions, is it not? Based on those questions, you now go and analyze your pivot table. So let's raise a question that we want to answer. The way we answered it in Excel.
Okay.
So let's say which column do we have? Okay, we have segments, you know. So let's say segment by what now? Segment by sales or by quantity. Which one do you want?
By sales is okay, sir.
Segment by sales.
By sales, okay. So it will be superstore. Now remember, you can say group by, is it not? You can group by. What am I grouping by? Segment, isn't it? I want to group by what? The segments. Now, but you see, when I'm grouping by the segments, sometimes we now have to check. If I run it this way, you see, it will not give me the this until I call what an aggregate function. Either I use sum, right? So what it's going to do there is going to pick. You notice all the ones that has quantitative value, is it not? Is going to what group by that, by each of the quantitative value. So I can use a sum, I can use what an average. Sorry, instead of average, they call it the mean. Okay, you can group by the mean, the average, so you can do that. Okay. Alternatively, unless you have just a single column, do you get? So for example, if I decide to select segments, so if I create a new data set, so let's say segments is equals to superstore, I'll open brackets, is it not? So what do I call it now? Let me say segments, comma, sales, isn't it? So if I call segments, can you see this is the data I have now? Is it not? This is data I have now. So if I want to summarize it, segment by sales, so what do I now do? Segment dot what? Group by what now? Segments, isn't it? Dot what? Sum. So by default, it's going to add up what? The sales. Or I can say equals to the mean, is the average. Or equals to what? The median. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So that's one way. This is the way you have done it in your pivot table. Is that how you did in your pivot table? Then you now take it, and this is what you're now going to visualize.
Yes.
Is that how we did?
That was what we did, sir.
Exactly. So the same way, when you are dealing with your group by, you will now notice that sometimes where I now need to analyze my data, right? And I have quite a lot. I can decide to just describe the entire table. For example, if I look at my superstore, you see we have a lot, right? But we see some variables that are quantitative in nature. So if I want to describe them, I'll just do a simple descriptive statistics dot describe. So have you seen what I've done now? It will describe, but you know it's not all of them that will make sense. Row ID, don't need row ID, don't need poster code. The only ones you need is what? Sales, quantity, discount, profit, target sales, expense, gross margin ratio, customer. You see that?
Yes, sir.
The same way, if I want to transpose it, I can say dot T to transpose it for you. So it all depends on what you want. So that's why sometimes we may now see situations where we now need to drop this row ID and postal code. So what do I now need to select? I want to only select these ones with quantitative what data, isn't it? So if I say super is equals to superstore, now you see, because these columns are all together, I may decide I want to copy them out. So that's why I have to now call the column names. So superstore dot columns. So I'll not make mistake. So I can copy these names. Now, can you see why sometimes you need this function now to call it? Then now becomes easy for me to now work with. I can now just copy it and paste it there. So I call it super. So if I run super, so can you see the data now? So I now say, okay, super dot describe. Can you see that now? So it doesn't have all those other unnecessary data sets. If I want to invert it or make it transpose, so dot transpose.
I thought you used dot C hub, sir.
Yeah, you can use dot C, but you can also call it transpose. But the transpose, so let me do it again. So look at super dot describe, right? Dot transpose. Transpose should be smaller case. Yes. So that's it. Either I use this or I use this way.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Are we clear with that?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, if you look at your data, you know, sometimes, for example, where we have segments, so let's look at that data, we have segments. Is this data, is it arranged? Is it arranged?
No, it's not.
So how do you want to arrange it? How do you want to arrange it? How do you want to arrange the data now? So either arrange in ascending or descending.
Highest sales.
Okay, so from highest sales, is it not? So what do we do to arrange it from highest sales to lowest sales? What do we need to do?
We need to sort.
We need to sort, is it not? So how do we do that? So we say segments dot what? Sort values, isn't it? What do I want to sort? I want to sort what? Sales. How do I want to sort it? By default, it's in ascending order, isn't it? By default, it's in ascending order. So what do I do? So ascending is equals to what? False. I have to now set it as ascending is equals to what? False. So we now see the highest now, isn't it? From data now, we can now see what the highest. Are we clear with this?
Okay, the serial number won't, it won't reassign the serial number.
No. It's just only going through the data and I say, okay, this is the highest, this is the next highest. But because they already follow the index number, so that's why it's showing you this.
Okay, sir.
Because you still need the data the way it is now. If you just need to sort it, you can put it this way.
But if I'm sorting with a sales as criteria,
Yes.
the serial number is not necessary that should remain what it was before.
No, now just imagine you're a pivot table now. When you sort it like pivot table, does it sort 1 to the 8?
Oh,
If you sort it
okay.
the way that
Yes, I understand, sir.
that was good there now. Because you know,
This
even your original
serial
data,
numbers, yes, I understand, sir.
yes. Even your Excel now, if you want it back now, you have to go and press Ctrl Z now, is it?
Yes, sir.
You now take it back to the original. Or you go back and sort it by either the serial number or by whatever.
Or you assign, you just use sequence to assign.
Exactly, use sequence to assign that. All right, are we clear with this?
People
Yes, we are. Yes.
Now, whatever we are doing here, just think about it as pivot table in Excel. So that when you are analyzing data in Excel, how was I analyzing it? Okay, and remember that in Python, when we talk about a pivot and pivot table, what's the difference between pivot and pivot table? What is the difference between pivot and pivot table?
Pivot and what, sir?
Pivot table in Python. What is the difference between pivot and pivot table? Pivot and pivot table.
Pivot table is the source where you can query any data.
No, but in Python, there's something that differentiates pivot from pivot table. In Excel, we may take them as the same thing, but in Python, there's a difference. What is that difference between a pivot and pivot table? What is different between the pivot and pivot table? By the way, can we remember the difference between a pivot table, a pivot data and unpivot data? Do we remember the difference between a pivot data and unpivot data?
The pivot data is the one that is summarized. Is summarized, okay, maybe and used to analyze. Yeah, and I think the unpivot is the one that is not is
Excel table.
Yeah, all encompassing. It's not narrowed down.
So if I have, for example, group here, right? Maybe I have group, right? I have group. I have A, B, C, C. I have another one, A, B, C. These are in different columns. This one is in one column. Is this on pivot or pivot? Is this a pivot data or on pivot data? So I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is this a pivot data or non-pivot data?
This is pivot.
This is pivot. So if I have here group sales 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is what? This one is what?
Pivot.
This is on pivot. Why this is what?
Pivot.
Pivot.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, that's fine. So you know, in Python, there's a function called pivot, right? And there's another function called pivot table. So what's the difference? That's the question. What's the difference between pivot and pivot table?
I think pivot does not make us does not support this joining together. I don't know the word. You know, I don't know how to put it.
Okay, I believe the word you are looking for is aggregates.
Yes.
Okay, that means it doesn't sum up, it doesn't
Yes.
find average, it will just
Yes.
arrange it for you, right?
Exactly.
But this one, it will arrange it and sum up for you. You know your Excel, the moment you drag segment to row, sales to values, automatically it's adding total for you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So that is what pivot table does for you. But pivot, it will only take your segment to row, is it not? Your maybe value, your sales to values, and leave it there. It's not adding anything for you. You just arrange the data for you that way. Okay. So your pivot does not aggregate. So no aggregation. But pivot table aggregates. Remember that, right? So if I'm just only summarizing it without adding up anything, I will use pivot. But if I need to now add up, maybe find the average, find the sum, then I will use what? A pivot table. Okay. So we are clear with this now, isn't it?
Yes, we are.
Because if we cannot differentiate now, as analysts, which one do we prefer to have? Is it as a pivot table? Is it as pivot or pivot data? Which one do you want? Pivot or pivot? Pivot or pivot?
Pivot.
On pivot.
Or on pivot? Which one do you want as data analyst? How do you want to see your data?
On pivot.
On pivot?
No, I want to see it as a pivot because I can, you know, it's analyzed and I can use it to visualize. So I want to see it as pivot.
You want to see it as pivot. Okay. So when
after I transform it, after I have worked on it.
Wait, so which one is a pivot data now? Which one is pivot data? Is it where I have, let's say A, B, B, C, C, or A, B, C? Which one is pivot and which one is on pivot?
ABC.
Let's say this is 1. Then this is 1. This is 2. Which one is pivot? Which one is on pivot?
One is on pivot.
Two is pivot.
Two is pivot.
Two is pivot.
Yes.
Why one is what?
On pivot.
Pivot. So which one do you want to see as a data analyst? How do you want to see your data?
It's on pivot.
How do you
after working on it, then we now turn it to pivot.
You see, when you want to analyze the data, at what point do you analyze data? Is it when it is pivot or when it's on pivot?
When it's on pivot.
Exactly. When it's on pivot.
So that means every transformation we want to do is to do it to make sure that it's what? An on pivot what? Data.
Data, yeah.
Isn't it? Then we now make life easy for you to analyze. Clear?
Clear. All
right, good. Now, because once you don't understand this, you see, when you now get into the data, sometimes you may not even be sure what you want to do. That is why you see, even that our Excel rule that we gave seeds, isn't it? That is what guides you on what you are going to do. All right. Now let's come back here. Let's come back to this table. This our superstore. Now, just imagine now you are in Excel, right? You are in Excel. This is your table now. Now, what do you want to see? What do you want to see? So, for example, I want to arrange my data by what? Now, how do I want to arrange my data? Or ask the question. They will not think about how to arrange data. Ask the question. Ask a question. Ask the question.
We want to know customers by region.
What?
We want to know the customers by region.
Okay,
by
customers
country.
by region, is it not?
Yes.
Customers
country.
by region. Okay, customers by region. So we have region. Do we have region there? So let's check superstore dot columns. Sorry. Do we have region? So we have region, is it not? Okay, good. So now, if I want to arrange it that way, so customers by region, isn't it? Now, when I'm arranging customer by region, am I looking for the sales? Am I looking for quantity purchased? What am I looking for exactly? What are you looking for exactly?
We want to see quantity purchased.
Okay, quantity purchased. So the quantity they purchased, isn't it? All right, good. So if I have superstore, now before you even do that, how should the table look like? So let's imagine, how should the table look like? So we are going to have customers, right? Isn't it? We are going to have what? Region here, isn't it? Right? Then within here, we are going to have what? The quantity. Is that how it's going to look like? So these are the customers. This is the region, isn't it? Then within here, we have what? The quantity. Is that not it? Is that how it's going to look like?
Yes, it is, sir.
All right, good. Now let's look at it. So we have how many arguments? How many arguments? We have seen we did customer, we did region, we did what? Quantity, isn't it?
Quantity. Yes, sir.
So that's about 3 now, isn't it? All right, let's start. So it means that if I have superstore dot what now? I want to pivot it now. Okay. So the first part, if I don't know what to do there, how do I know the arguments? If I'm not sure or I don't remember the arguments, how will I do it? So I will know what to type. What do you do? Shift tab now, isn't it? Shift tab. So shift tab will now show you what, how you are going to use it. Can you see it? Index, columns, values. Can you see it?
Yes.
So even if I don't remember it, I don't have to remember everything. I just press my shift tab. I just copy whatever I need there. I go and just know how to work with it. That's all. Okay. So the first thing I need is what? My index, isn't it? So what's my index? My index will be what? Let's say my customer name. Let's say customer name. Okay. What again? My columns. What will be on my columns? What will be on my columns now?
Region.
Region. So on my index, your index is your row. Isn't it? My region, my columns will be what? Region. Okay. Then what about the values?
Quantity.
Values will be what? Quantity. Remember, the way it is typed here, that is the exact same way you type it. But if you type another thing, it will give you what? Problems. Can you see? It will give you what? Problems. Now it says index contains duplicate entries, cannot reshape. Hey, what is the problem? What is the problem? So what is happening there? So what is happening there? Do you understand what the problem is?
Value error.
Yes, but do you know why the error? Why the error is there?
Customer name has duplicates.
Duplicates, isn't it? So that means it's supposed to be unique.
Yes.
Right? So in that case, if your data is unique, right, it's separate, then it will be easy for me to what? Select it. Now let's just try pivot table and check. Let us see if we use pivot table, what will happen? Okay, let's use pivot table and see. So superstore dot what now? Pivot table. So what's my index? Customer name. Okay. Then what's my values? My values is what? Let's say quantity. Okay. Do I need columns? Okay, let me say my values. So where I have this thing, I will have my values. Let's say region, right? Then I will have to now aggregate it. So aggregate function will be what? So, wait, this my values. Is it region or it's supposed to be sales or quantity? Quantity. Let's run and see. So you see one thing now, that if assuming I had put region, let me see region here. Let me put region. Now you see you cannot add region there. Can you see that? You cannot add region there. Which means for me to have used pivot, it means that your data must be unique. Is it not? No duplicates. But with pivot table, if there's duplicate, it will aggregate it. Can you see the difference? Do you understand the difference? Why it didn't work with pivot, but it worked with pivot table?
No, sir.
You didn't understand it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, in your superstore dot, okay, let me type superstore dot pivot table. So let's bring out the arguments. Now you see columns. Okay, so let's say columns. Let me type columns here. Let me say columns. Which column do you want? Region, is it not? Region. What did I not close? Does not match opening parentheses. Where is it?
After quantity.
Eh?
I think is that, yes.
Okay, here. Okay. So this is how it's supposed to have looked like. Customers, is it not? Then we have the region, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Then we now have the summation. This is how we wanted it to look like initially, isn't it? Is that not how it should have looked like? The customers,
Yes.
are the customers, then this is the region, then here will be the values. This is how you'd have done it in your Excel now.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? But you see, by default, it will aggregate it for you. But when I want to use pivot, remember, pivot does not aggregate. You remember the difference? That under pivot, pivot does not aggregate, but pivot table will aggregate. That means if this errand happens 6 times, or it has 6 transactions, right? It means you are supposed to have Aaron Beggarman, Aaron Beggarman, Aaron Beggarman, Aaron Beggarman, Aaron Beggarman. But it does not add up. So that's why it's giving you that error that there is what? What was that error it gave us? Duplicates. Is it not? If there contains duplicate entries, cannot reshape. So once your data is unique, your variables are unique, then you can easily use your pivots. Otherwise, if you want to now add up them, what do you now use? Now use what? Pivot or table. So that's the basic difference between both of them. So the way you'd have done it in your pivot table is using what? Pivot table. You put the column, the row, your column, and what? Your values.
Value.
Then you know how you go and click and select either sum or mean or average. I can do a count. Can you see that it will do a count? Or I can do the average, which is the mean. Can you see that? To do the mean for you. So I can either do a count, I can do a max, right? I can do a minimum, just like your Excel. Okay? Or I'll do what? A sum. So just like your Excel. All right, are we clear with this?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes,
So you
I'm
see
clear.
now, before we are using small data now, before, isn't it? So now we are now using real data set. How would I have done it in Excel? Because the power of this is that, assuming that that file contains 3 million records, can you do that in Excel? 3 million records, can you do that in Excel?
No.
No, sir.
So imagine it has 3 million records. You can't do that in Excel. So that's why you take it here in your Python. It will easily do it for you this way. Then you can now export this one back to your Excel and do your visualization. So it is, you see, whatever you are doing in Python, you can actually do what in Excel. But the limitation of Excel is what has now given rise to why you see that as data keeps increasing with technology, isn't it? The volume of data keeps what increasing, and Excel can become what overwhelmed. So that's why you see that even when you say you are a data analyst, you don't have to what expand your toolkits from just using your Excel into using what Python or what R. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes, we are.
Good. So when you want to analyze your pivot table and the rest, so this is exactly what they are talking about. Okay. So let's look at again. Let's see super. So let's see what the data looks like. Let's check if there's any other thing we can do. So just think about it. We're in Excel now. What other analysis do you think we want to do? What other analysis do you think we want to do? Yes, what other analysis do you think we want to do? Yes.
We can group.
Yeah. So you know your actually your pivot table actually is already grouping for you now. You know, by default, it's already grouping it for you.
I wanted to talk of range.
Range. So when you say range, now what do you mean by range?
Okay, that we can say we want to see in this data now. Customer that bought within range of so quantity to so quantity.
Okay, between a particular
for each region. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you see with your Python, right? You know how you can also select data, isn't it? But you see, when you are selecting data, you now have to understand what is the criteria for selection of the data, isn't it? What's the criteria for selecting what data? And sometimes the criteria for selecting data may be okay. For example, you know how you filter now, is it? I want to filter by, let's say, now let's look at the data now. Let's say I want to pick data only. Just imagine I want to pick only corporates, only corporate segments. So how do I do that? Only corporate. In Excel, how we have done it? I want to select the data only corporates. So what do I do in Excel?
Or HSF, I'll filter.
Yes.
Then on check. Then we only check for corporate only.
You only check for what? Corporate, isn't it? You only check
Yes,
for
sir.
what? Corporate.
Yes.
Okay. But here, what you may now do is that you say, okay, what's the name of this data? So let's say corporate. I want to create a new variable called corporate. Corporate. Okay. So it will be superstore, isn't it? Now, what is the name of the column you are looking for? Which column are you looking for? Where is this corporate found?
We can't see the heading of the data now.
Corporate is found where?
Scroll up.
Segment.
It's found where? Segment, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It's found in what? Segments. Okay, it's found in what? Segment. So segment, is it not? Where
Yes, sir.
segment is equals to what? Now remember, what's different between this and this? What's the difference?
Double.
This is what?
Equals to.
What about this?
Quality.
In Python, this is what? This single equal to is what?
It's an assigned variable.
It's assignment. You know, this is how to assign. Why this is what?
So like a sign of equality. If a variable is equal
Equality,
to-
exactly. So where this is equals to what? Corporate, isn't it? Where is equals to corporate? Now, if I run this and I check corporate, now you see what it's saying, true, false. So where it say false, what does false mean?
Doesn't exist.
False means what?
Not available there.
Not corporate. True means
It's corporate.
corporate,
means
is it not?
corporate.
Yes, exactly. But you see, if I now want to bring it to show the actual data itself, then I have to wrap it around the data. So super what? Super store. I have to now call it again, isn't it? I'll now call everything out. So if I run it now, can you see now it has brought out the actual data now? So can you see the difference now?
Yes, sir.
So this is how you actually will do your filter. Okay. But you see, there are situations where I'll say, okay, I want you to give me maybe where is corporate. So let's do it again. So let's say corporate, and what was that range you talked about? What was the range?
Range based on quantity.
Okay, range based on quantity here. So
Yes,
what
sir.
do you want to see? Which range?
We can do 1 to 3, 4 to 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 2. Okay, anyway, okay, because we are still learning, we'll get to that point. But since we are still learning, let's just take it step by step. So let's say, for example, I'm looking for corporate, isn't it? And where corporate quantity, isn't it? I'm looking for corporate, and the quantity, isn't it, that they have purchased is greater than what? Greater than what?
5.
Okay, 5, isn't it? Greater than 5. Okay. Okay, let's do another one separately. Then we'll bring them together. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say quantity. Let's say 5. So you understand it's greater than 5, isn't it? 5 and above. Okay, so equal to, so what do I do? So superstore. You understand what I'm doing now, right? When I put it twice. So what's the name of the color, the variable? Quantity. Where quantity is what? Greater than what? 5.
5.
Is it not? Where quantity is greater than what? 5. Oh yeah, let's run and check. So if I say quantity 5, so check this quantity, are they greater than 5?
Yes, they are, sir.
Are they greater than 5? Yes, they are greater than 5. Can you see that? Now imagine now I want to now merge where it is what? Corporate and greater than 5. Can you see that? Where it is corporate and greater than what? 5. So what do we do? So it's corporate and greater than 5. So let's say corporate and quantity greater than 5. Okay. So what do I do? So superstore. Okay. So let's do the first one. So superstore, where segments is what? Equals to what? Corporate. This is how we did the first one now, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
This is how we did the first one. Okay. Now you see, when you are trying to pick it, because it's going to affect both. Because this is going to affect both. So what we are going to do is to first of all put it in brackets. Can you see that? So this is the first one. So this is the first one. And what? Superstore, isn't it? Which other one? Quantity, right? Where quantity is what? Greater than what? 5. Is that not? Then I can now close the brackets. Do you understand what has happened here? So let's run and check. So it said parenthesis does not match. So where is missing? Which parenthesis is missing now? Because where you open and close, you must check that open and close.
After that segment.
Yes, can you see here? This closed one here. Right. So if I have open and close, open and close, open and close. All right, let's run. All right, good. So CQ5. All right, good. So it means to know that it's correct, my segments must show me what?
Only corporate.
Only corporate. And my quantity must show me what?
Greater than 5.
Greater than 5.
So if I want to now know how many, can you see it there? So how
Yes,
many?
sir.
600 and what? And 3. Last week we also tried to show, assuming we want to see corporate or which other one? Corporate or what? Consumer. As you want to see corporate or consumer, how do we do that? Corporate or consumer? So superstore, let's see. So I want here to be show me consumer or corporate. Consumer or corporate. So how do we do that? So consumer, corporate. Let me say consumer and corporate. Please, when you are using, please use very descriptive names so that it's easy for you to remember. Okay, so how do I do that? The same way I will have here the superstore. So the first one is what? Segment, right? Segment is what? Corporate. Segment is corporate, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I have superstore, then I open the bracket so I can open the bracket there, right? Then close the brackets here. So this is for corporate. So if I want to do the same thing for consumer, what will I do for consumer? The second one will be, so let me say consumer. Superstore. Superstore, isn't it? Where segments, yes, where segments is equals to what? Consumer. So if I run consumer, let me see consumer. So this is consumer. This is correct now, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Consumer is correct now. So now I want it to either be corporate or consumer. It means I want to join both of them together. Isn't it? But the condition I'm joining is what? Is what? Or. How do we write or? In Python, how do you write or? So how do we write or? So how do we write or?
And this plus. I'm going back to normal mathematics. And this or.
I think we showed it last week now. How do we write or?
And this plus.
Or, this symbol, or, this is your or. Or, can you see that? So let's now break it now. So here I will have superstore. Let me take this guy out and close. Isn't it? So this is superstore. So this is it. Or I will have another one. Superstore segments. Yeah, segment is equals to what? Consumer. Then close brackets. So let's run that and check. Okay, let's see. So consumer corporates. Did it work? So I must see either consumer or corporate. So far, I'm only seeing consumer.
Consumer.
I'm only seeing consumer. But how do we know whether it's consumer or corporate? So let's check. So if I want to check whether the unique names here, how do I check it? Whether the names, the unique names on that segment, how will I know? So how will I know? Consumer corporates, consumer corporates. Is this correct? Consumer corporates, consumer corporates, consumer corporate. Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So we can see consumer, we can see what corporate, is it not?
Yes.
Now, if I put here, for example, consumer dot unique, consumer dot where's the unique? Which other way again? Let's say segments dot unique. That work? Can you see that now? So if I want to check the unique names, can you see how to check it? Can you see it? So it's now showing me consumer and what? Corporate. If I say dot count again, will that work? No. Dot count, will that work? Let's see. Say dot sum. Okay. Okay, if I have used n unique, so it will just count them that there were 2 unique items there. That is number of unique items, n unique. But if you just want to know the unique items, then just type out unique. It's just like the same thing with, let's say, customers. Let's say customers. So let's say superstore customers, right? Dot what? Unique. Customers. What's the error there? Customers. Is the spelling correct? Customers.
It's correct, sir. It's correct.
Okay.
Okay, customer without X in the data.
Is it customer or
Consumer.
no? It's customer name. Customer name. Customer name.
Name, okay.
So can you see all the customer names now?
Yes, sir.
The unique customer names. How many unique customer names are you expecting to have here? How many customer names do you expect to have? How many customers name do you expect to have? Unique customers, how many do you expect to have? Yes? How many unique customers do you have?
Maybe we count.
So how do you count it? We did it before now.
Yes, sir.
N unique. 7 what? 93.
93.
Can you see that? So can you see where this is very useful now? N
Yes, sir.
unique and unique. When it's small, it's easy to understand it, but when it's large, then that way you appreciate this little things. Okay. Can you see everything we have done here? Can you not do that in Excel?
We can, sir.
Can.
Yeah, you can now. So it's the same logic as long as you understand what you want to do. That's why I keep telling you, sometimes the code is not the important thing. So understand what you want to do first. Okay. That way I don't just write the entire code. I write it small. So you just, at least when you see the code, at least you understand what it's doing first. Then before we now merge them together. Are we okay with this so far?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now you see, sometimes imagine that you were in Excel. Let's say, for example, let me see, superstore.heads. Okay, sales. Let's assume this is your sales. Let's assume this sales or selling price. Assuming this is your sales or selling price. Yes, selling price. Yeah. You know, for example, when you sell and there's VAT. VAT is, what's percentage for VAT?
7.5.
7.5. So if you want to now get the total amount you need to sell, how will you do that?
You want to get what, sir?
The total amount to sell it.
That would be 107 all over 100, sir.
107.
7.5 all over 100 multiplied by the cost.
Multiplied by the what? Cost, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do it mathematically first. Let's do it mathematically first. Okay. So if the sales, the selling price, let's say is 100 naira. Is it not? Selling price 100 naira. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Let's say quantity that they buy. Let's say they buy 10. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Then VAT is 7.5. Right? So when we want to now calculate the amount the customer will pay, how much will the customer pay?
100 multiplied by 10 multiplied by
100 multiplied by 10.
Multiplied by 0.075.
Multiplied by 0.075. So what will this one give us now?
That will give us only fats.
Okay,
this will give us only VAT, is it not?
VAT,
Exactly, yes.
This will give us only VAT. It will not be VAT plus
100%.
plus 100%.
Yes, sir.
Hey, they have come, oh, you see, oh,
Oh,
they have-
okay, to simplify it, let's say 100 multiplied by 10, multiplied by 1.075.
Okay.
0.075. Yes.
So whatever I have here to be 100 multiplied by 10, multiplied by what? 1.075.
0.075.
I'm sure this one, for those who can see, isn't it? This is for those who can see. But if you cannot see, it means that this will give us VAT. Then I will now have 100 times 10, isn't it? Plus
Yes,
the VAT. 100 times 10, is it not? Times what?
0.07.
7.5 divided by 100. Is that not how you'd have done it in full?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this will capture our VAT. This will now capture the word sales, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So it will be sales plus VAT. That's why you see when they are telling you, they tell you inclusive of VAT or excluding VAT. Everybody, I hope we are understanding this. So
Yes, sir.
are we clear with this?
Yes, we are.
Now you see in our data set, do we have anything like VAT? In this table now, do we have anything like VAT?
No, sir.
No.
Do we have anything like VAT here?
No,
Do I have
we
anything like, assuming I want to create a new column called VAT, 7.5%. So I'll now have 7.5% all through. How do I do that? How do I do that? I want to create a new column called VAT. Then I want to increase it by 7.5%. How will I do that? Yes. How do I do that? VAT. I want to create a new column called VAT. And in that column, I want to see 7.5 all through. I gave an example now. We did it before now. I gave an example when we're doing a country, Nigeria. How do we do it? Yes. You have Superstore now. Is it you want to create a column? What's the name of the column? What's the name of the column?
VAT.
VAT, isn't it? And this VAT is equals to what? 7.5. I can put here as VAT, I'll put percentage here. I can even put 7.5 here. Do you get? So either I leave it at 7.5 or I'll leave it at 0.075. Which one do we prefer?
0.075.
0.075. Okay, so let's check now. So if I call Superstore, now let's check. Okay, let me just use superstore.head so that. All right, so let's check now. Do you see VAT 7.5 there? Can you see how it has applied to all of them? So it means I can create it here. Alternatively, I can create another column. Let's say revenue. If I want to now call it revenue, how do I calculate revenue? How do I calculate revenue? I want to create revenue. How do I calculate revenue? That means when I say revenue now, that means the amount that you are going to receive from the customer. How do we now calculate it? The amount that we are going to receive from the customer. Yes, how do we calculate it now? The amount that we are going to receive from the customer.
Revenue.
So I'll create a new column called revenue. So what do I have? I have sales. Do I have
Revenue.
anything called revenue before? No. Okay. So let me create a new column called revenue. So Superstore revenue. So this calculation we have done now. So how do we now implement it now?
Square brackets, VAT.
Okay. So we have Superstore. VAT. You know, I can use this column to multiply, isn't it? Or I can write it straight like this. So which one will be better for us?
You can write it straight, sir.
We can write it straight. Okay, then that's fine. So it means that if I want to calculate it now, so the calculation will be what?
But sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes, please.
You said if I'm creating a new field.
Yes.
And one of the variables is already on the table before that I want to use. I don't need to put it in the square bracket again. I thought that was what you said.
No, it depends. If there's space, if there's no space, I would have just typed Superstore.VAT. But because of this space here, that dot will not recognize this space. That's why we're putting in square brackets.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that was the difference. Yes. But if there was no space, I would have just typed Superstore.VAT. Then to work.
Okay, sir.
All right, so let's go.
Dr. So Francis of the class. Sorry, sir, for disturbing you.
Yes.
I have office meeting by 3. So
that's fine. We're almost done.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, take care.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, that's fine. Okay, so how do we now do this calculation? So what is our sales now? So how do we calculate the sales? So how do we calculate it now? Yes, so how do we calculate this now? Exactly what we have done here. How do we now implement it now? Nobody. Or we don't understand what's happening. And nobody's helping us. We just left it for Moses, Lukman.
Oh, yeah, Moses, take over now, accountant.
It's not about accountant.
I know.
It's not even about accountant. It's just to understand the logic.
I'm just pulling his leg.
We have consultant Bukola in our midst. Bukola.
Because we have been building it small before now, isn't it? Now we just want to bring them all together. So what are we expected to do now?
We put the sales.
Sales. So what is sales? So we have superstore sales, isn't it?
Yes.
Multiply by quantity, Abi.
Multiply by what?
Quantity.
So superstore quantity.
Then they include the VAT.
Plus.
Yes.
How do we get the VAT now?
That's
7.5.
No. 0.075.
0.075.
0. What?
0.75.
0.075.
Will this work? Don't forget, it will give you value, but does this make any sense? This is how we want to build.
We'll put the superstore.
We'll repeat this same thing.
Yes. Yes.
We'll repeat the same thing here. Right?
Yes.
Or alternatively, we can do it this way, times 1.7075.
Okay.
Do you understand that? Times
Okay, sir.
1.075. That is this one. Or we can build it gradually.
Okay.
Okay. That is why you see, whenever you are building this, that's why you must have documentation, your comments to explain what has happened there.
Okay.
Do you understand? Because imagine you have done this now, you are not there now, isn't it? Somebody needs to understand, how did you calculate this thing?
It's true.
So that is the essence of what documentation. Okay, so let's run it and check. So revenue, so superstore. So let's check. Revenue. Did he calculate? Did he calculate?
Yes, he did.
It calculated, isn't it?
Yes.
But you see, when you have calculated, please randomly pick one and do the calculation yourself to check that it's giving you the correct thing.
Okay.
Don't say it is Python, and that is the same thing we do in Excel. We say Excel has done it for me. Do you get? Because when you do these things together, sometimes there's bound to be errors. Okay, so you pick randomly and check. Okay, that's done calculation for me. But this thing is as calculated. Is it correct? So let's pick the first one. If we were to get revenue, it would have been 2.6196 times 2, isn't it?
261.
Yes, 0.96 times 2. That will give us revenue, isn't it?
That's 522 something.
522, is it not? Times 1.07. So somebody should just do this in calculator straight.
That's 561.
561.
Yes, sir. I think the 261 has a 0.96.
0.96.
Yes, that's why.
If I also do it in Python now, how will I do it? It's not 261.96 times what? 2 times 1.075. What do I have there?
Correct.
263.2.
Yeah, 5
is correct.
Correct, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So superstore core revenue. So can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So that is how it must have calculated it, isn't it? Good. So this is how we can also implement, right? So you see, you must first of all understand what you want to achieve first before you now start thinking of the code. Because writing the code is not the problem. It's understanding what you want to do. Okay? If, for example, you see that selling price, that sales, assuming that selling price, you want to increase it by, let's say I want to increase it by 10%. How do I increase that selling price by 10%? I want to increase that selling price by 10%. How do I increase that sales by 10%?
Possible. This one should not come in.
I want to increase selling price by 10%. How do I increase it by 10%? Let's say, for example, superstore. So let's create a new variable called new price. New price will be what?
So equal to
Yes,
superstore
sales.
Sales.
Yes.
Yes.
multiplied
Times
by 1.01.
1.1
1.1.
by 10%. By 10%.
10%. That's
Yes,
One-
it's 1.1.
1.10.
Yes.
1.10 like this, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I can now check. Okay, so let me now check superstore. So what did I call it? New price, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So I now have new price. Can you see new price there?
Oh, okay. It's there. Yes.
Then I can now use this new price multiplied by quantity, isn't it? Multiplied by VAT.
Yes.
Can you see how it works now?
Yes.
Now, the same way, this is the way we are doing it manually. Remember again, in Python, we are writing functions. Do you remember when we were writing functions? So it's the same thing. If I want to increase by 10% now, I want to write a function to increase by 10%. Now, what do I do? I'll say define, let's say, increase 10%. Let's say increase by 10. Yeah. So just only one variable, maybe just one price. Okay. So what do? I want to return what? This X multiplied by what? 1.1. Is that what we have done here?
Yes.
This
Yes.
X, this particular variable, there isn't it?
Okay.
Multiplied
Yes.
by what? 1.1. Okay. So I've run that. So if I want to now apply it now, so what do? Let me say new price 2. I'll call it new price 2. So superstore new price 2 will be equals to what?
X.
Superstore.
Yeah.
Is that sales? Right? This is what we want to do, is not?
Yes.
Dot what? Apply. What am I applying? What is the name of the function? What's the name of the function?
That's increase.
The name of the function is increase
Increase 10.
10, is it not?
Yes.
Is that the name of the function?
Maybe.
Increase 10. And what is it saying? Whatever value it is, multiplied by 1.1. All right, so let's run that and check. So superstore. So if I check new price and new price 2, should they be different or they should be the same thing? New price and new price 2, are they the same thing or they should be different values?
It should be the same.
They should be the same.
The same.
They should be the same, isn't it? So if it's not the same thing, that means there's an error there, right?
Yes, sir.
So are they the same thing?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. But what is the difference between using this and using a function? What's the difference?
I think for the function, you is like it's rightly said, is defined. So you can easily
Yes, I can call it up at
Yes, call
any
it up,
time.
yes.
At any time. But this first one, I have to be writing it every time. I have to
repeat it.
write it.
Yes,
But this one, I'll just call the name of the function.
exactly.
And that is how you create variables and do analysis. Okay. So just imagine that the data set was up to 10 million. First of all, can Excel open a data set of 10 million?
Never.
No.
Isn't it? Not to talk about you want to now update that data. You now want to increase it. Then you want to now do calculations. You want to now take it to pivot table. How can Excel do that type of thing? But you see with Python, you see how efficient and easy it is.
It is.
And you see that we don't need complex code to write. So those little things that we are doing, the basics, is what we are now trying to bring in. Okay? And that's why you see here, when you are writing your function, you don't have to define it exactly what you are doing. Okay? Now, once I'm done with, for example, this is the table I'm doing, I'm done with the table. I want to take it back to Excel. Okay? So assume it was maybe up to 10 million records now, right? I've done, summarized the data, whatever I've done. Now I want to take it back to Excel, the one that Excel can understand. Okay? What is the name of this table? What's the name of this table? Superstore, isn't it? So Superstore, isn't it? Dot to CSV. To CSV means what? Take it to a CSV file. What's the name of the CSV file? Let's call it what? Super.csv. So that means I will create a new table called what? A new file called what?
Super.csv.
Super.csv. All right. If I want to take it to Excel, what do I do? Superstore dot what? Superstore dot what?
Excel.
Excel.
To Excel.
To Excel.
Can you see how intuitive it is? The name of the file will be what? Super dot what?
XLS.
XLS.
Yes.
Do you notice that Excel will take longer time than CSV? But it's done now. That is why most time, whenever they ask them, please give me data, they are always sending it to you what a CSV format. So let's go back and now check these files that we have. So in this table, we should have what now? New price and new price. Is it not? That's how we know that this is the correct thing we have done. So do I have what do I call that file? Super. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
I call that file super. So let me so this is super, this is CSV, this is can you see my desktop?
Yes, we can.
So you can see super. This is CSV, this is what Excel. So let me open this file first. Is this the correct file?
Yes.
Is this the correct file? Yes.
Yeah.
Now, but you notice the difference now. What do you notice again? It added something for us.
Yeah.
Like
What
a
did it
serial
add?
number.
A serial number.
He added what?
Like an index.
He added the index. So you notice that by default, it's going to add what? The index. Is it not? It will add what? The index. So sometimes if you want to call it and you say, please, don't give me this index. So just give me my data as it is. So let's go back. So you notice that it's generated with index for us. So if I don't want with the index, then I have to now tell you, please, I don't need anything like index. Just give me my data as it is. So I'll come back here. Am I sharing my screen back?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So let's look at it. So if I say superstore dot to CSV, isn't it? So if I can't remember it, what do? I press Shift Tab, isn't it? So Shift Tab will show me everything that I need to learn there. Okay. What don't I want? You notice that by default, index is what?
Index. Bold. Yeah, true.
By default, index is true, isn't it? If I come here again, I will see an example of how they do it. Can you see that? So in this case, index is going to be what? False, is it not? So I don't want index there.
Oh.
Can you see that? So can you see that when you want to learn, can you see how you learn it on your own? If you want to go to YouTube,
like a library.
Yes, like the library is there. So I'll now say, okay, super1.csv, isn't it? Comma, index equals to what?
Index
False.
equals false.
Okay, so it means if I come to super1, will I be seeing index there?
No.
Will I be seeing the index? So let me go back. So here's super1. So this is super1 now. So if I open this file now, so I will check. Do I have index now?
It's gone.
It's
There's
gone.
no
Isn't
index
it?
anymore.
No, there's no index. Now I've come back here. This is now my new data I've generated, isn't it? Now I can do all my analysis in Excel. And you see how sometimes it starts with Excel and also can end in Excel.
Yeah.
Then from here, can you take it off as analyst now?
Yes.
You now know what to do, isn't it?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So all we have been doing, this is where your role as what? Data analyst. Can you see that? When you say I'm now a data analyst, this is what you do. All we have been doing in Python now is what you are doing with data analytics with Python. But you are just what? A data analyst at that point. Okay. So by next week, we hope to enter data visualization. Okay. So I think what we do now, so we have done missing data, isn't it? How to identify missing data, remove missing data, fill missing data. So we are clear with that. Okay. We are okay with pandas, although there's still a lot we still do with pandas, but these are the basic things at least you can start with. But we need to go into data visualization.
Awesome.
How to start visualize. So all you have been doing, remember when you take it here, isn't it? You'd have taken it with pivot table. You don't know how to do a pivot table in Python.
Yes.
Isn't it? This same pivot table you have done, you can also export it now back here and do your visualization, isn't it? So that visualization you have been doing in Excel, we want to now show you how can I build the same visualization in Python. Okay. Much later, if we have time, we can also show you how you can also build dashboards in Python. Okay. Then, but for now, because of the time, we'll just do data visualization. Much later, once we are done with data visualization, the most important one for us next is machine learning. Okay, so that's what I want to, so that we can use machine learning for next month. So once we are done with that, then you are okay with what Python. But you see, if you don't practice, it will leave you. But is Python hard?
No,
It's
sir.
not hard though. It's not.
It's not hard.
It's not hard. I think it's just vast.
Yes.
It's just vast, you know. But you see, but when we started that, you just say, programming. I don't like programming, isn't it? I don't like I don't think I can ever understand programming. But you see, it's almost like English language.
Yes, sir.
Now I tell you, I'm not a programmer, right? But it's the syntax is not important. The important is that you know how to read it. Okay, once I see this line, okay, I know what they are saying. So that even when it's not working, at least when you go and look for solution on Google, you know which one is the right one. That's why in this era, learning is very easy. Very easy, because a lot of solutions are online for you. You only just to identify which one is what I need. Then pick it. Even you just copy and paste, copy it, carry it, edit it the way you want, try it. Around, okay, thank God. Then life goes on. Okay, so keep practicing this. So these are the two major things we will do next. Then once we are done with this, then another thing I would like us to do is how do you connect your SQL to Python, right? And you're writing your SQL scripts in Python. This is another important thing again, because most time your data is in the database. So I'll collect it from bots, connect it to Python. Now, those my analysis, I would use my SQL syntax right inside Python. Everything we learned in SQL, we can still do the same thing in Python. Rather than using my SQL, we'll be using using Python to write it. Okay, so I think that will be the last thing that we'll be able to do. But if we can cover machine learning for next month, we'll be fine. Okay. All right, I think we can end it here. But these are the 3 last things I think we need. Then we'll be done with Python. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much,
Thank you very much,
sir.
Dr. Francis.
That's interesting.
Doctor,
Really
thank
appreciate it.
you
Bye, everyone.
very much.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, take care, guys.